there's nothing. And there's a tendency, somehow, showing up. Here it is. This tendency to make nothing into something. Now, how could, it doesn't happen. How could you do that? You can't. Who could do it? How could it happen? You can't make nothing into something. Nothing is nothing. And that's what there is. That's what this is. That's what is. It just means that what is isn't something. That's what nothing is. And it isn't really nothing. It isn't anything. There's nothing called nothing anywhere. This, well, it isn't nothing. It doesn't have a word. No one's ever seen it. Right? That's what it means. But when we say this is nothing, it's just pointing out that it ain't something. It's not this thing that appears to be. Like I say, there's a tendency around in the neighborhood. It's in the news. It's around, like a fog or a weather condition. It's noticed. It's here. This tendency to see nothing as being something, to interpret it, to perceive it, whatever. And somehow it's a magic trick, but to live this nothing as if it is something, to live the story of something. That's the tendency. That's what we call it, me. We call it the experience, the human experience, you could say. You could say that's what makes humans, what defines the human, you could say. I mean, it's a good story to just say that, there's this tendency around, and when this tendency is up and running and, in evidence, then that kind of looks like a human experience. This tendency to live in a story, to live an experience of something, feeling like something, doing something, experiencing something. That's life. That's my life in the form of my story. That's all something. And again, this communication, this pointing is just pointing out that, no, there's just nothing. Everything that is just nothing. And again, nothing just means it doesn't come with that story attached to it. Whatever doesn't have that story doesn't have somethingness, because the somethingness is a story. It's, another way. I mean, let's look at this again. What makes nothing something? What makes this magic trick, happen? What is it? What are the mechanics of it? I mean, every magician can explain to you how the effect is produced. It's actually not a rabbit coming out of a hat, an empty hat. There's really something else going on. The magician, he's not going to tell you because he can't. He won't be a magician anymore. But, it used to be that way, right? These days, there are no secrets anywhere, except the big secret, which is that there's nothing. That's still a secret. Even here, even now, I'm saying it, and it stays a secret because everybody's listening with the ears of these something ears of the person. They're only tuned to something. Nothing is coming in, but it's like a virtual reality mask or a helmet, goggles, whatever it is, that converts the experience into the virtual program. Well, the human, the me, converts all this nothing into a virtual program of something. So that's what's lived. So again, like when I just sit here and say, no, there's nothing, or, the local non-duality crank, on the corner is just saying, look at the nothing of it all. Look at the nothing that's here. And look how funny it is that somebody's trying to say that it's something, trying to sell you that story. Yeah. So that's all there is. That's all I could ever say, and that's all there is to say about. I mean, what else can you say except it's nothing, and there's this tendency, which we call me. I mean, I'm just calling it a what do you call it? Is this a dream? I don't know. The dream appears. The dream is nothing appearing as something specific, something with a story attached to it. Something, with a label on it, like a tag. Well, everything's untagged. There's no way to put a tag on this, right? The label. The tag says what it is. That's what something. I mean, something, what's the difference between nothing and something anyway? I mean, I'm saying everything is nothing. It's not something. That's a big mistake to say that it's something. Well, what does that mean? I mean, what's the difference? There isn't any difference. There isn't any difference anywhere. There's just nothing here. But in this dream of turning nothing into something and living that, the product of that, the fruits of that process of converting nothing into something, it's just a matter of attaching a label to the nothing. So now it's something. The label is the description, the story. Well, how does that happen? Well, knowledge. There's knowledge coming in saying, no, that's not nothing. That is the story that's going on here. I know that. I know the story. I know what everything is. I know what this is. It's not nothing. It's the thing that I know. That's something. So I was saying that what is the difference between nothing and something? That's something in my eye, which is just nothing, because there is only nothing. Whatever goes on, it's just nothing. Until we attach a label to it, attach some bit of knowledge to it, and then we've got a story, then we have an experience. So it happens through knowledge. That's the magic trick. Sprinkle a little bit of knowledge around, and you've got a whole story. Sprinkle knowledge onto the nothing, and watch it grow. Watch it become a story. Watch it become something known. Now I've got my life and me in the middle. You've always got me. That comes up. That's part of the creation of the story. You don't have a story without a person, without me. It's just the way the machine works. But it's all made out of knowledge. Without knowledge, you've got nothing. You've just got a bunch of nothing here. A big bunch of nothing, which is what there is, which is what this is, because the knowledge is not here. It's assumed, it's told as a story. But knowledge isn't anything real, is the point. There's nothing to know about what is. That's the big, the big secret, the big confusion, the big con. That's the trick. It's not known. It's not noticed. when it's not noticed that knowledge doesn't produce anything real, essentially. There's no way to know anything real. Knowledge is just a story. Story put on what is here, what is already, just as it is. It doesn't accept knowledge, because what's here is real. The knowledge is the label that comes, the overlay, the story. It talks about what is here, tells the story of what it is, what story about it. Well, the story about it never attaches to it, to the reality. It never becomes the reality. The reality is what it is. No one knows what it is. It doesn't have knowledge about it. Knowledge is something separate. Knowledge is about knowledge. It's not about what is. There's never been anything known about this. Just this, what this is. Again, no one's ever seen it. It's never been taken down. The statistics, the dimensions, the coordinates, whatever. It's never been measured. It's never been analyzed, evaluated, rated. It's never been seen. It hasn't happened. There's no witnesses. All that. That's what is. Well, that's why it's nothing. Well, nothing, again, just means it doesn't have the story on it. It doesn't have a story. That's why it's nothing. The thing with the story becomes something. That's how it, I've said it 20 times already. Something is the thing with the story. The thing. That's what a thing is. You got nothing, and you tell a story about it, it becomes a thing. You get the story of it. The label, the name, the understanding of what makes it what it is. How does this little part of nothing become a thing? By knowing it. If it's not known, you don't have a thing. Try to think of a thing that isn't known. There aren't any. And that's what's here. What's here is the thing that isn't known. And that's missed by the me experience. It creates this other thing. This thing that thinks it's a thing is kind of the way it is. And that's a problem, as you can see, because it creates a whole experience of being a thing, which is this human thing, which has desire for something other than what is simply given in experience. The experience is never enough. All that. Fear of the end of experience. All these little features of this experience, this human thingness. So we'd like to point out, by the way, you may notice it's not happening. That illusion is not here. It was never here. This is it. This is just what is, as it is, as nothing. No labels here.